Welcome everyone. This video is for Unit 1, which begins Monday, April 25th, and will go through Thursday, May 12th. So again, this is the list of assignments for everything that is due May 12th at midnight Mountain Standard Time. You'll notice, depending on what time zone you're set in, for iLearn 3, that your due date may differ depending on if you're in the Mountain Standard Time or where in relation you are to that. So for example, I live in Texas, so I'm Central Time, and on my iLearn, when I go in, let me show you real quick, when I go in as a student, it says May 13th at 12:59 a.m. That is the same as 11:59 Mountain Standard Time. So just keep that in mind. One of the first assignments is the collaborative quest. Some of you have already done this. It's the discussion board where you're introducing yourself to the rest of the class. There is an initial post due on Monday, May 2nd, within the first 7 days of the unit is how those work. So Monday, May 2nd, your introduction is due, and then to receive full credit, you need to also do an additional 2 responses to your peers. And that's the same for every discussion board from here on out. Then the observations and development assignment, the Dear Abby letters, the reflective journal, and the chapter quizzes on chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. With those chapter quizzes, you have 3 attempts to try it, and it will automatically take the highest score of those 3 attempts. So you don't need to worry about if you got a 9 on the first try and a 7 on the next, it will automatically take the 9. So we'll go more into those assignments for this video here. Some helpful hints. This section has a lot of focus on genetics, and sometimes it's a pretty difficult assignment to understand, or not assignment, a topic to understand. And so in just a minute I'll go through a PowerPoint presentation to hopefully help you on one of the journal questions that relates to genetics. The Dear Abby letter assignment has a minimum word requirement. Let me pull up the assignment. And I hold you accountable to this. So I'm in Unit 1 activities right here. And here are the instructions for the Dear Abby letters. Right here. Your written responses must meet the minimum word requirement of 2,200 words. There is no maximum. And I will say, most students in the past write well more than 2,200. But that's the minimum. And this is the cumulative word count, including the Dear Abby letters. So you include the original letter that you're answering as well as your response. Keep in mind that you are answering a total of 3 questions per chapter, so there should be 9 total questions or letters that you answer. For this unit, the entire class is combined for the discussion board. And the remaining 4 units will break you up into smaller groups of 4 to 6. So just keep in mind, I know when everyone's participating in the same discussion board, it's a lot of posts to read and comments and things to keep up with. But keep in mind, in the future units, they'll change and you'll only have 4 to 6 students to respond to and interact with. Also, please post a picture of yourself or your family so I can have a face to the name. It helps me out a little bit more. All right, so for genetics, sorry, I'm going to bounce around here. I have a PowerPoint presentation. So one of the questions, it's question 11 on the reflective journal assignment. It asks you to rank from smallest to largest different aspects of a gene, of DNA, of a chromosome. And the textbook doesn't really do a great job at it, and if you Google search it, it's not that great either. And so I have this presentation that will hopefully help you understand the basics of our DNA, of the makeup of how we are created. So first off, the smallest aspect of it is called an allele. Allele is a variation of a gene. So an example of this is right down here with eye color. That a mom has 2, each parent has 2 alleles for each gene. So the mom has 2 blue eye alleles, the dad has 1 brown and 1 blue allele. Each child receives 1 allele from each parent. So the children, you can see that they receive the blue allele from their mom, and in each of these a blue allele from their dad. Then those alleles combine and make up the genetic differences that we see in our children, the variations in our children. So there's alleles for everything, from bone structure, I mean, not just things that we see, but also internal differences. So keep that in mind. Alleles are the smallest aspect. So as I mentioned, 2 alleles then create a gene. This is the smallest section of the chromosome. We have thousands of genes that are made up of alleles. Next, hopefully this is a familiar term, our DNA. It contains the genes. As it says, it's the heart of the cell. It tells the cell how to function and what to do. Then the genes make up a chromosome. Each of us has 46 chromosomes unless there is a defect made in that process. For example, trisomy 21 is an extra number 21 chromosome, which is a disorder. And it has all the genes within the chromosomes. Then the genome. This word you may have heard with the Human Genome Project. It's a project that's being done by several universities and researchers to essentially map out every single gene that we have in our bodies. And here's just a little, you can click on this, but here's a small, very small sample or section of the project. So a genome is a set of all the genes that humans have. And as I said, they're trying to map out and identify exactly every single gene we have, which is an enormous amount. Next, hopefully this is another term that you've heard of, is the nucleus. The nucleus holds the DNA, the chromosomes. Every cell in your body, whether it's a liver cell, a heart cell, a skin cell, a brain cell, has a nucleus with the same set of DNA and chromosomes. Then the cell is the next part. I'm going to back up. So here, this purple thing right here and the pink thing is the nucleus. This whole outer part with all the colors is the entire cell. And so you'll notice the mitochondria, which you may have heard of from biology, centrioles. All of these are different aspects of a cell. Then a gamete. A gamete is a collection of cells. It's either sperm cells or ovum, which is also another word for a female egg, set of cells. And essentially, before life is created, the sperm and egg are separate, and they only have half of the chromosomes necessary. So they only bring 23 chromosomes. Then when those two unite, they contain the 46 chromosomes that's necessary for human life, unless there's a problem that occurs in that union or in either the egg or the sperm. And as I said, it is the start of human life. It's before it is fertilized in the mother and continues to build cells. So that's the basic unit of human life is the zygote. So that is the end of the genetics part, and that will help you immensely with question 11, as I'm going to go into. So question 11, let me pull up, this is the reflective journal assignment. So let's go to question 11. Arrange from smallest to largest the following items. And there are every single term that I just went over in the PowerPoint. So hopefully that should clear up question 11 for you. Next is another one that sometimes stumps students or they lose points on is question 17. So let me go back to the reflective journal assignment. Question 17, ask the following. What are the common characteristics of the following genetic disorders? And it gives you 7 disorders that are listed there. What I'm not asking you to find 2 characteristics that are shared amongst all 7. What I'm asking you to do, or what the question is asking you to do, is list 2 characteristics of each. So this is how your assignment should look. And instead of X, you have characteristics of those. And so you would go through all 7. Then the next question is, name 2 genetic disorders in which prenatal testing is possible. There's a page in your textbook that has this huge graph or huge table that lays this all out so you can easily find the information. Prenatal testing means that the baby, while the mother is pregnant, can be tested for certain disorders, often through either blood tests or an amniocentesis procedure. The third aspect of this question is asking for 2 disorders which is possible to detect if you are a carrier, meaning that you can go through genetic counseling prior to being pregnant or starting your family, a husband and wife, and you can do a blood test to see if you are a carrier of certain disorders, and then decide based on that information how you want to proceed with your family. All right, next is a common mistake that is made with the observations and development assignment. So let me pull that up so you can see what it looks like. The observations and development assignment has you watch a video with a study done by Jane Elliott, and it's a very historic study that was done especially relating to the persecution and stereotyping that was being done in the 50s and 60s with racism and the supreme race. And so it's a great study understanding how much we can influence children. So it's a wonderful video. Watch it. So what you'll do is you'll watch that and then answer the following questions: the hypothesis, the research method, the variables, and the ethics of it. And then you'll also do one more video from Piaget and his theory. But anyways, I want to focus on this third question about the independent and dependent variables. This can be sometimes a confusing concept, even for myself. Sometimes my husband and I have to talk it through with him and explain it again because sometimes I get confused. So let me explain it to the best of my ability, and hopefully this will help you. So independent variables don't change in an experiment or in a research study. And here's a great resource that you can look up. A dependent variable is what you manipulate, what you change. So for example, in this example right here, your test score depends on the time spent studying. So the hypothesis would be that the more time you spend studying, the higher your test score is. You can't change the actual number that you get on a test. That is what it is. You can change the time spent studying. So because your test score depends on how much you spend studying for the exam, your test score would be the dependent variable because it depends on the other variable. The time spent studying would be the independent variable. Also, so there's the independent versus dependent variables. As I said, here's a great resource for it. If you have questions in the actual video, I can help you out with it. Also, lastly, there's a lot of theories in this unit. There's a lot of background information. I promise it gets more exciting. Theories are not, for me, not the best thing to learn about or the most interesting, but it just is creating a foundation for what we'll do in the future units. In each unit, in each video lecture, I will do how the course applies to reality, to our lives, our everyday lives. It's great to learn it in school and know all the information and know exactly what theory is what and the data, but unless we can apply it to our own lives, it really just sits around in our brain and doesn't do anything good for us. So these are the 5 areas that each unit I'll do some application with you. The first is the gospel. We are privileged to be students at BYU Idaho where we can incorporate the gospel into our education. One thing with this unit and what has come out in recent years is choosing our own gender. Not only once we're born and through puberty and beyond of choosing what gender we identify as, but also an issue or a debate is, can parents choose the gender of their child through fertility treatment? So basically they would need to have a fertilized egg done in a lab and then implanted in the mother, but scientifically you can determine if that egg or that fertilized egg is male or female, and should we be able to choose that? I will support the family proclamation that we are created male and female for a purpose, for a divine reason. Heavenly Father knows who we are, and He has designed us to be as He would. and that I testify that even with all the science and the abilities we have to choose a gender,